Welcome back. Truth No Chaser. It's your girl Ashley
and Jay
and Frank,
and we have our guest with us,
Miss Davida Albritton. Thank you for joining us this lovely Wednesday.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Awesome.
So you guys, you want to get right into it?
Stir it up. So
over the weekend,
other than the Super Bowl,
right?
Yeah, we'll get to that later on.
Yeah, that's what I'll be covering. You know what I'm saying?
But the big thing, me and Frankie talked about earlier, I'm not sure if you've seen it yet, was the British Awards, or Britain, Awards, where, can I pronounce this man's name?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes. Frankie, you want to enlighten us all?
Yes. Joaquin Phoenix basically put the entire movie industry on blast, calling out a couple of his constituents, including himself, for not taking the initiative to recognize people of color in Hollywood, not working along with them, picking them for roles, kind of taking accountability, saying like, maybe he should pick certain roles for movies to make sure that they have a more diverse cast. And I thought that was pretty big. There were a few people, there were a few faces in the room that you could tell didn't agree with him.
They were kind of like, here we go again. He's on his soapbox. Another person doing the same thing, but it needed to be done.
It needed to be done, man. We've been kind of like, fighting for big roles. This is the reason why, big up to Tyler Perry, this is the reason why he does what he does, because of the lack of diversity in big time movies. So he's like, you know what? When I make my own studio, when I employ my own people and stuff like that. So, but it's still a good thing that Joaquin did. It was totally unexpected, and it was big up to Joaquin Phoenix for that.
Yes.
Well, I think art should imitate life, and it's kind of sad that in the American movie culture that we still have to be like, okay, we have to make sure there's diversity. Like there's a diverse America, the roles should be diverse, and then the fictional storylines, that should be pretty easy. But I think it's cool how across the water, they're they see the injustices of America very clearly, and I like when they speak on it, because it's like, it's kind of the same reason why the civil rights movement, one of the reasons why the civil rights movement took off, because it was a world stage. Right, white America was embarrassed more than anything. So it's an embarrassment when you have other cultures and other artists of the highest level saying, okay, this is what's going on.
Right. And I'm part of the problem too, so I really appreciated that. He was honest.
That's dope.
Just real quick, the same concept, applies to the kneeling. I felt like if we could have got one, like an Aaron Rodgers or someone like,
that's all you needed.
One. That's all we needed was one to to kneel, and then some of the people would have probably saw the bigger picture, but fortunately, Joaquin is our kneeler, so shout out.
So unfortunately, a lot of people don't see us as equal, and we hate to say, but it's reality. Speaking of your reality, your boy, and I always say, I don't know why I always say it's your boy, but I swear I always say this is Jay's boy.
Jay did not vote for Trump the way you don't say it.
Right. She always says my boy.
Yes, it's your boy for some reason. So enlighten us on what's going on with Trump.
So Donald Trump today was acquitted. I know at least right before we started the show, on the first article of impeachment, which was abuse of power. So he was acquitted on that, which it doesn't mean wipe out the impeachment. Impeach means to bring charges against the president. Okay. So the charges were formally brought, and then he was, like anybody else arrested and charges were formally brought, he was taken to trial. And he was taking the trial. He had a trial with no witnesses and no evidence. Which there could have been some intervention by the Supreme Court, but you got to remember, Supreme Court justices are appointed by presidents. And he had some appointments that he made, but also there's a Republican Senate right now, and that's where the trial is held, in the Senate. Now, not to be discouraged, because Trump is the third U.S. president to be impeached, and none of them have been found guilty. They've all been acquitted.
Okay.
So it's not like a big stir.
Surprise.
Yeah, it's not. And basically, it always, Clinton was the last one before Trump, and we had a Democratic Senate then, right?
Right.
We weren't up in arms, but he got found not guilty. So,
Right.
and then the prior president before him was way back with Andrew Johnson, which they actually really tried to have a true process with Andrew Johnson. They had like 11 weeks of trial, 13, and then like 2 more weeks on top of deliberations. It was like a 13-week process for Andrew Johnson. Okay. And, you know, for the first president impeached, they really tried to have the impeachment process as designed it was supposed to be. But, you know, so when they came to a vote there, it was truly out of deliberations and not out of politics. But Trump is happy as ever, as we saw Super Bowl weekend. As you saw last night with his State of the Union address. And Pelosi.
She was a gangster for that. She was like, I'm not gonna wait. She was like,
yeah, straight resting bitch.
But it was only after he snubbed her on the handshake.
On the handshake.
If you was Trump, would you shake her hand though?
Nah, because she was leading that whole trial.
But here's the thing though, it's not personal.
Exactly.
Right.
It's
you know
not.
what I mean? So why you not gonna shake her hand?
Yeah, that's true.
But then on the flip side, then you can say, why she gonna rip she up?
In plain sight, she was like, for everybody, look, I don't even care.
Rip red.
There's a video, Frank tagged me in and I put it on blast on my Facebook, dude doing a rap about the importance of voting for the other positions.
Yes.
During election time, midterm elections, as they call it. That is vitally important.
The branches of government.
The branches of government are vitally important. A lot of times we say, oh, this president was in, he didn't. We give the president actually way too much credit. Right. Anybody who paid attention in civics class knows that the president doesn't make laws. They introduce laws. They have executive orders, which have expiration dates, but they introduce laws to the Congress. Up to the Congress, actually, the House of Representatives will, whichever house it's introduced in first, blah, blah, blah. But then when you look at, even though the balance of power and everything that exists, the Senate is actually designed to be the most powerful.
Okay.
They have 6-year terms and they're staggered. It's 2 per state. The number never goes up or goes down. And they carry a whole lot of decision-making power. So, of all the midterm elections, wherever you're living, whatever state you live in, your senator is up for re-election. Go vote. That is probably the most powerful position in the federal government, as we see here.
I think, like, I'd speak for everybody when I say, even if you did pay attention to civics class, it's kind of the way they set it up for you to put the president on so much of a higher pedestal than everybody else. I mean, because he's pretty much the only one they kind of drilled into our,
right.
You know, I mean, I couldn't tell you besides when I grew up in New York, we knew Mayor Dinkins and Governor Cuomo, but outside of that, that's because they just wanted to simplify it, and then from there on, we just became a simple people. You know, all we cared about really is
that's America, man.
You're right.
It's jacked up. That's America.
Yeah. Let's put a pin right there before we go to social studies class and history class.
Right.
Before we move on to the next topic, which obviously is you know, our dear Kobe Bryant, the first tribute. You know, last Wednesday, you know, we rocked our Kobe Truth No Chaser shirt, which was dope, by the way.
Very
Got a lot of feedback. But today, you know, we're in our attire, and our homeboy Frankie over here, I don't know. We still don't know what's going on. So if y'all are confused like us,
I have no clue what she's talking about.
Frankie is not going to tell us why he look like Magic Bishop Don't Want over here.
Well, look.
We don't know either, y'all.
Look like a pimp and a magician got into a fight.
I'm just confused.
But
it's
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But we're going to get to it.
Yes.
We'll cover that in Frank's Sports Bar. Thank you.
And also, by the way, we didn't get the call-in number, y'all. Feel free to call in our Note Chaser portion. The number is 678-223-3364. Again, 678-223-3364. Feel free to call in at the Note Chaser and last call portion. Moving on back on Stirred Up, you know, we everybody watched, I know I did, the Lakers tribute for the first game back when Kobe came out and when LeBron came out and spoke. Usher sang. What were y'all thoughts on that?
Oh man, Usher, man, tore it down, man.
Amazing Grace.
Tore it down. I kind of. I actually had to see because date night, so you know had to watch it on when I came back. But I was like, man, if I would have saw this live, you know. I you know, unfortunately, everybody talks about it on Facebook, so I got a chance to brace myself a little bit. Yeah. But it was super dope, especially the way they split the arena with the jerseys, the 8 shirts, and then number 24 shirts. That was like that
was crazy. And then the chairs, the benches,
yes,
with the open spots and the roses.
Yes,
my God, for Gianna and Kobe, super dope. But then, like, back to what I was talking about last week, then you see people trying to sell the shirts for like $350 online and stuff like that. It's crazy. Like, how are you gonna get that much money for something that 30,000 people had?
Got for free.
Right, man. It's ridiculous. But anyway,
my boy Wiz Khalifa, Pittsburgh stand up, he came and did the halftime show.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
He's from Pittsburgh?
Yeah, black and yellow. Yeah, that's it.
You know what? We're going to excuse that ignorance because you know so much about politics. I'm going to excuse that ignorance.
Right. You know about politics.
Right.
You know, Wiz Khalifa.
I can't believe you didn't know that.
Why am I supposed to know he's from Pittsburgh?
Because you're from PA too.
Right. That's not real PA. That's Ohio.
Oh, my God.
We're going to leave that one alone, y'all.
About to have a fight.
We're going to leave that one alone. So, as you all know, it is Black History Month. We're standing up for Black history people. And we want to just read some people throughout the month that you may not have heard of before. So, this week we are featuring Miss Claudette Colvin. And 9 months before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat to a white passenger on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, a then 15-year-old Claudette Colvin did the same. On March 2nd, 1955, Colvin was taking the bus home from high school when the driver ordered her to give up her seat. Colvin refused, saying she paid her fare and it was her right, but was then arrested by 2 police officers. Later on, Colvin became the main witness in the federal lawsuit Browder versus Gale, which ended segregation on public transportation in Alabama. So for your strength and courage, we want to salute you, Miss Claudette Colvin.
All right.
Salute.
That's what's up.
Yes. And, y'all, to round out our Stir It Up, which is a more serious issue, which is why we have our guest here today. It was released on I think it was 3rd, on Monday.
Monday,
so you sent us the...
So, yeah, we were preparing for the show and going over, what topics we thought were pertinent, light, entertaining. And also we try to feed y'all some topics and things to think about pertinent to life. And ran across an article for those of you all who weren't listening in Atlanta. News 2 down here did a expose article that went to Washington. Was it Washington?
Booker T.
Washington High School, which is in Southwest Atlanta, right near the Atlanta University Center, Morehouse, and all that. And they found that 45 students.
45 young girls have been victims of sex trafficking in the last 7 years. Whoa. And they made a statement that they did a forum, and they've said at least 2,000 teenagers are victims a month in Georgia.
Wow.
I'm not a year, a month in Georgia. 2,000.
Wow.
That to me, I mean, we hear about it and people like, think it's a movie like Take It or something like that, but it's actually in our backyard and it's being shown every single day.
Right.
It's crazy.
So, Davida.
Yes.
As our, I guess, sort of resident expert tonight. Not expert.
We're not going to deem her the expert.
No, we're not going to say
superhero, super volunteer, I should say.
How do you guys qualify victims?
Anyone who has been commercially sexually exploited.
Okay.
Yes.
And well, first.
So where there is coercion, manipulation. Yes.
So can you explain commercial exploitation?
There's an exchange of value, not just money, but some sort of goods.
Even servitude. Wow. So have your experiences in volunteering been mostly in Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how long you been volunteering?
Probably for about 4 years. Wow. About 4 years. But if I could just dial it back about, how I even got started.
Right.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not a resident expert
No.
I just want to qualify that with what I was saying. I'm not a resident expert, but I am a parent. And I always share this story. Probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I was walking in, Perimeter Mall. Yeah. And I have 2 daughters. At the time, my youngest daughter probably was about, she's 18 now, so maybe she was about 13, 14. And she had some money in her pocket. She wanted to shop. And she was walking maybe like 50 feet ahead of me the day after Christmas. And I could see the crowd, kind of swallowing her up. But I was able to see this guy. I call him a baby man because most people deem traffickers as the scary guy or, Chester the molester or whatever. This guy was just a regular, good-looking, baby-faced guy that I could see come up to her, and he said something to her, and I saw her face light up. But mother's intuition, I knew something wasn't right, so I caught up to her, and me mugged him. He skedaddled away. And I asked him, I said, what did you say to her? And he's like, oh, I'm just trying to, get some patrons for my basketball team. But he left quickly. And I looked at my daughter and I said, what did he say to you? And she was like, he said I was pretty. And that shook me so freaking bad. Now, mind you, I had been to all the panels at my church. My church is huge on awareness. And so I had been to at least 4 panels over the previous 3 or 4 years. But I just never, it never resonated with me until I had that experience. So, one, I'm a parent. And then I also, before that, in middle school, I had to get, like with social media, I had to get up on game. I didn't know. I thought all I knew about was texting.
Right.
But through monitoring her social media, I mean, there's secret social media accounts, fake social media account. Kik was out, I think, was popular at that time.
Okay, yeah.
And learned about Pornhub. 5th and 6th graders knew. I didn't know anything about Pornhub, and I just did not know the path or what our kids were susceptible to.
Okay.
And so everybody's like getting snatched up off the street, contrary to belief.
Right.
I kind of cringe every 3 to 6 months when social media has a new wave of sharing a white van or the zip ties on the, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but there are other paths to being introduced into the life.
Right.
It's that guy hanging out outside of the your daughter's high school, just waiting to get in her ear, real smooth, and so I had to learn those things. And so as a result of that and that heightened awareness, and being at my church, I was like, what can I do? And I think for most people, it's like you feel overwhelmed. Your first thought, you want to go out and start snatching people up and sharing, the white van theories and all of that. But like, what do you do?
Right.
And so as a result of, like I said, serving at my church, we began to call organizations that were already aligned with doing the work with this serious topic. And so and that's one thing that I would suggest before you do anything, and this is the parent, like, educate yourself on like what's really going on. Yes, we know the statistics like Ashley just told us, but after you know the statistics, like, you need to know that, how do you connect people with resources?
Right.
Because what are you going to do?
Right.
As an individual, after you snatch them up off the street or you rescue them, what are you going to do? So it's important to be connected with people who are already doing the work and have resources available, to those young ladies.
What type of resources are typically provided?
So, say for instance, someone wants to come. Well, I'll just tell you how I serve with Out of Darkness is the organization that I serve with.
Please.
Okay.
And so obviously the first point of contact is through outreach, and there are various scopes of outreach where they educate medical staff in the hospitals and clinics to know what to look for, signs. They obviously educate the community through the ambassador outreach team. And so there's the awareness piece. And then there's advocacy, which comes around obviously annually through the legislative session. As a matter of fact, that's coming up next week, where it's going to be anti-sex trafficking lobby day at the Capitol on February 13th. I think that's next Thursday, right?
Yes.
So I talked about awareness, advocacy, And then there is the actual outreach where you have street teams that are going out to those high traffic areas and connecting with women who, or connecting with people who may be, because I don't want to just make it a girl or a woman, a female thing, but to connect with people who may be victims. Mm-hmm. And so through those, that outreach, through that connection, if somebody wants to come off or they want to be rescued, then they can call the hotline, and upon calling the hotline, then they're connected to safe homes. Go to the safe home, they're triaged, determine what their needs are, and then they go into a long-term program.
That's awesome.
So what people do you volunteer with? Organizations do you volunteer with, if you don't mind sharing?
Sure. So like I said, Out of Darkness is one. During the Super Bowl, I also volunteered with Forcera. One of their scopes of outreach is actually doing surveillance on websites, where sometimes accounts are created for these girls by the traffickers, or girls who are already in the life, and they create like escort websites. And so we will review those websites, look for women who appear young, or just the pictures appear suspect, and then we will connect them with the hotline as well. So we send them a text, tell them what resources are available to them, and then again, if they appear younger than 18, obviously a call is going to go out to the GBI. But if it's someone that is an adult, and I want to touch on that too, yes. They are connected to those resources that I was telling you about before.
You want to touch on that?
Yes. So I just want to say, like, for some reason, and again, this is just another area where I get heated. For some reason, when you talk about sex trafficking, we only talk about young persons.
Okay. Young girls, specifically, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And granted, that's serious.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But it's like once you turn 18, there's this thought that you are less susceptible with being victimized.
Right.
And you don't turn 18 and not be susceptible to being manipulated, being a victim.
Right.
And so one of the areas of outreach that I also serve in is jail outreach. So unfortunately, if you're 18, you're not considered a minor anymore, and so if you're picked up for a solicitation or a prostitution charge, you are arrested. The good thing about it is that in the last couple of years, they have not criminalized those charges so much, and also try to connect those women with resources. But that's kind of like a forgotten population.
Right.
Because some kind of way, a woman that's older, or someone over the age of 18, some kind of way they had a choice, or they know better.
Right. Okay. I got what you're saying now.
Yeah.
So they're just as susceptible as
yes. And worthy of the same resources.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, like when I go to talk to them, and they're women my age, I mean, they really have survived. When I hear their story, and I could never tell their story like they could, but I mean, they've been out since they were 8 years old, 15 years old, 16 years old. They just happen to have survived that long. So just want to put that out there. Like, don't try to say that there's a difference, because it's not. Like, victimization is victimization, period, regardless of your age.
So you brought up something when you touched on how you do a special volunteer during the Super Bowl. We just had the Super Bowl in Miami. Coming up here in Atlanta, we have the Final Four coming up, which some folks may or may not know. These big events are like basically hubs for human trafficking to take place. Final Four is typically one of the biggest events that for sex trafficking. Can you just kind of talk about your experiences with volunteering, and maybe what things need to be aware of? They live in cities where big events are coming up, or anything like that.
I'll just tell you about my experience last year, and I will say I have heard that refuted that it's actually the opposite. That it's, people say that large events are a greater avenue of trafficking, a greater incidence of trafficking, but I have heard different from some of the leaders in the that serve with these organizations. But anyway, last year we did concentrated outreach, like at the bus stops where, you know, women were going to be traveling in from other cities. Concentrated outreach outside of the strip clubs. One area that we didn't think about and that I happened to serve in is at the jail. Like, I remember on 2 days I saw like 20 women who had got caught up in a sting on the north end of town. And I just saw all age ranges. Some, it was their first time, and when I listened to their story, I'm like, how did you get here? Like, they came as far away as South Dakota.
Oh wow.
They didn't know anybody here. So I'm like, how did you get here? And they said, well, this guy, I came with my friend, or I came with my aunt, and they said I can make some money.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the good thing is, I mean, it was unfortunate that they ended up being arrested, but in a couple of those instances, it was before anything could happen. So granted, it was their first time, but hopefully it was their last time. Like, that was enough for them to realize, like, it wasn't even worth it.
Right.
Yeah, whatever money they thought they was getting ready to make, that your life, you know, could have been taken. You came up here to on a whim. Right. Yeah.
And so you harped on as far as the adults, you know, people not, you know, really putting them in the same boat category because they can fend for themselves and things of that nature. There was a video that went viral last year of a young lady that was being harassed by a gentleman, and she had the wherewithal to go live on Facebook. So that's the advantage, I guess, of social media. Yeah. So when she went live, she had enough of her friends that went on there, and then, you know, people like, where your location? I'm at him right now. Right. And it kind of scared the guy away. Right. And I think, you know, see, not everybody's gonna be that fast, that quick on the, you know, on the dime, like, you know, to think of that. So I guess that's where people come from with the, you know, well, adults could think for themselves and things of that nature. That's probably why, you know, they always talk about the children, you know, but it's awesome that you said that, because man, you know, I could just imagine if she didn't think ahead, you know, and it wasn't quick on her toes, then she probably, she probably would have been taken by the dude. Right.
Know? What kind of advice can you give to, I mean, because it's not even just women, it's not just young girls, it's also boys too, young boys being trafficked. What kind of advice can you offer to parents, siblings, I mean, just anybody out there that's listening?
For parents, again, I'm just speaking from the vantage of being a parent. Like, listen, I'm gonna give you a good example for that. I am the parent, or I used to be the parent that you know, and ask questions later, you know. I fussed first, and then, you know, I would get the information later. Right around this time, same around the time that we went to the mall, a DeKalb County middle school teacher was arrested for child molestation, inappropriate sexual relationship with a 13-year-old. Jesus. At the middle school. My daughter knew that teacher. Again, social media, I didn't know. She knew before I did, because I was like, you know, she was obviously upset before she was going to school. Yeah. And I said, you know, what's going on? And she said, Mr. So-and-so got arrested. You know, I know, and there, I know he didn't do it. It's not true. And my first, I'm gonna just be real honest. My first reaction was, you don't know this, you know, you don't know this man. You know, I just went off. I went completely off. And I saw that as soon as I went off, like, the wall went up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss an opportunity, like, to really be there for her. So I dialed it back, and she was actually getting ready to leave and go get on the bus. and I just stopped her. I said, hey, I know you knew Mr. So-and-so, but let's talk about it.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. So first thing, like, to answer your question, like, please be available. Listen to your kids. It's not about, I tried that about, monitoring social media, or you can only have this much phone time. But I'm telling you, if somebody want to get in your daughter's ear or your child's ear, they can get in their ear. Right. So just make sure you have an open line of communication, so that if they want to talk about something, or somebody is talking to them, they're talking to you. So you can decipher what's right and what's real. Right. Yeah.
Well, before you get up out of here, Davida, we appreciate your time. Can you let the people know what groups they can look up, or what websites they can look up?
Yes. So there is Out of Darkness, which is connected to the Atlanta Dream Center. There's For Sarah. There's Wellspring for Living, and there's Georgia Cares. Those are the 4 major ones that I know about.
All right, can you tell one more time, just in case they missed that?
Out of Darkness with the Atlanta Dream Center. For Sarah, that's the number 4, Sarah. And Wellspring for Living, and Georgia Cares.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you so much.
Very informative.
Thank you.
This is a tough subject. It's like I said, people are surprised that it's so big in Atlanta, so we appreciate you coming out and talking to us and providing information for everybody out there.
Absolutely.
And keep up the good volunteer work, boo.
Yes. And hopefully we recruit some volunteers tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ray of Hope member. One of our Ray of Hope members. For more information, find her on Sunday at church, y'all.
Yes.
Well, thank you for your time, Davida. We know you have to go. We appreciate you stopping by.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Yes, thank you. We will we got into that heavy thing. Next, we missed Jay's checkpoint.
We did. We did.
We just kind of breezed past that.
But because the last story,
because it kind of went hand in hand with our guest. On her time, she has to go. So again, thank you for coming out. We will now move on to Jay's checkpoint.
We've got a lot of viewers. Yeah, definitely got to hear this. Let's go.
All right, so today's checkpoint is, we're talking about traffic stops last time around.
Right.
And we kind of center a lot around traffic stops during these checkpoints, because the average non-criminal life citizen, that's your biggest encounter with police officers. But we've also been seeing that's where the biggest encounters have been going wrong.
Right.
And a lot of our black lives have been lost or stolen on these traffic stops. So it's important to know your rights. So Frank asked the question, and that's been circling around with traffic stops when it comes to checkpoints. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to checkpoints, what are the purposes of them? Why do they do them? Are they necessary? What do we need to watch out for? What are they looking for? So a checkpoint can be set up for several different purposes. You can set up a checkpoint because, hey, everybody keeps running this stop sign in this neighborhood, and the neighbors keep complaining about it. So city council gets on the police department. The police department goes up there and they set up a checkpoint at this stop sign just to check everybody's license. You use seatbelt checkpoints. The most familiar one we're looking for, we always see those Saturday night DUI checkpoints where they keep people coming down the road where you can't go turn around somewhere and they got you, right? Driver's license checkpoint is a very typical one that you'll see mostly in urban areas. Stop every car to see a driver's license. And the thing about a checkpoint is you're kind of behind the 8 ball because you don't exactly know what the checkpoint's for when you roll up. However, the scope of the stop for the officer is limited to the purpose of the checkpoint, unless he is giving other suspicion of otherwise some other criminal activity afoot going on with you or within the car or about the car, or there's another traffic violation that is obviously noticed, right? So if you pull up to a checkpoint and then you have 2 dark tint, well, they got you there. If you pull up to a checkpoint, you got alcohol in your breath, well, that extends there. But you can't pull up to a driver's license checkpoint and they say, hey, can we search your car? Wait a second. What's the purpose of this checkpoint?
Right.
Okay. Hey, we can pull up to a driver's license checkpoint or you pull up to a seatbelt checkpoint and they're asking for your driver's license. We're supposed to just be checking for seatbelts for everyone to see, or for child safety seats. Yeah. Another thing about checkpoints is the police they can't do them arbitrarily, which means you can't just say, oh, we're going to stop that young lady, but we're not going to stop him, or we're going to stop all the men, or you know what, we're going to set up this checkpoint, we're going to let a few go and then stop that one. No, they have to either be every single vehicle or they have to be systematically done, like every fourth vehicle, every third vehicle, or it has to be some sort of system that is by the numbers, and nobody can really keep up with that, right, without catching a lawsuit. So they typically just do every vehicle, and that's what you see. That you'll usually see those checkpoints. They're usually centered around area. The purpose of the checkpoint is usually centered around an area where the problem of the checkpoint.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm one of those people that, I think the law got a quota, to fill, and they just want to be stopping people so they can hand out their monthly quota on the tickets. And I know I'm not the only person out here that feels that, but right.
At the end of the month, they're trying to get everybody right now. Exactly.
So I almost think every black person thinks like this, to be honest with you. But
it's conspiracy.
Jay, I've actually heard that's false. That that it's that's not a thing.
It's true and false at the same time.
Okay, explain.
It is absolutely true and it is absolutely false at the same time.
Okay, how so?
Absolutely false. There is no quota. That's absolute. It's illegal to have a quota. Right, you cannot place a quota on writing citizens tickets. You can't say, "Hey, you got to get 50, tickets," or such and such going to happen to you, or today we're going to write 100 tickets as a police department, or blah blah blah. Can't have a quota. That's illegal. That's a good way for a police department to get sued.
Okay.
In reality, this is what happens.
So this is where the truth
right.
In reality, what happens is, if I am Officer so-and-so, and I'm a traffic officer who works Interstate 85 or State Route 138 going through Riverdale, and that's my job to go out there and write tickets every day. My supervisor or the supervisors typically don't say, "Hey, Frank, you got to write X, Y, amount of tickets before the end of the month." They'll be very fancy with the words. They'll say something like, "Frank, it's almost the end of the month.
You only got 2 tickets.
You only got 2 tickets. I'm not saying there's a quota.
I know. You ain't doing your job.
I'm not saying there's
niggas is speeding down Ty Boulevard.
I'm not saying there's a quota.
Right.
But performance evaluations are coming up. And your pay is affected by your performance evaluation.
Okay.
And I can't give you a positive performance evaluation with these amount of tickets.
Okay. So yeah,
now that goes. To so if Frank don't want to write any more tickets, or Frank feels like he's written enough tickets, Frank can be a smart ass and go, "Well, Sarge, how many tickets do I need to write?"
Right.
For my performance.
Go on, give me that quota. Which they're not going to give you. So it can go both ways, right? So one thing is, okay, no matter what you do, if your job is to mow lawns, right? Every day you're supposed to go out there and mow lawns, and you go out there on a sunny Saturday and you mow 2 lawns. It's like, I'm not saying there's a quota, but 2 ain't enough. But on the flip side, for those, and you see that occur a lot of times in smaller police departments, or in police or in areas that are high ridden with crime where they don't have enough resources to actually address the crime. You'll see these unwritten quotas being expressed because traffic stops are the only way that they know how to go to stop crime. People get robbed.
She gonna kill me for saying this because Tiff had got a ticket in Virginia one time.
Ooh, Tiff
she was going
about $60.
She was going like
he put her business all the way out there.
She was going like I think 40 and a 35 in the school zone at 3 in the morning. At 3 in the morning.
You ain't
I was like, it was 3 in the morning. I was like, school zone at 3 in the morning. I was like, come on, what kid is out here right now? God damn it, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's really
all the way out there.
That's really what made me think of the quota. That incident right there.
It's not real, but it's them tickets. It's not the last day of the month. They out there heavy.
It's real. We gonna move on because it's real. It's
functionally real.
It's real.
So you said it's real.
It's real.
Functionally, it's real.
I know what everybody out there is wanting to know because I am dying to know. I know my partner is too. We're gonna move on to Frankie's sports board because we want to know why he got this get up on today.
It's making me sweat. I thought it was the alcohol.
I'm never hot. I was like, I'm never hot, but right now I'm like,
burning up.
So
the things
curious.
I do for this show. Yes. You have entered Frank's Sports Bar, a place where you can get your sip on and your weekly dose of sports all in one place. And yes, we gonna kick it off with a bang. The big story this weekend: Super Bowl, baby.
Bum, bum, bum.
Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs of Missouri. All right, with their come from behind victory, winning their first Super Bowl in 50 years. They beat the San Francisco 49ers 31-20, and the big props goes to Andy Reid, your boy. Mm-hmm. Now that is your boy. Right, yeah, not like Trump, his boy, but Andy is his boy.
That's for play.
We still love Andy.
Andy Reid stamped his mark in history. Yes. You know, basically making him a for sure Hall of Famer. Right. I thought the game was pretty high impact. It wasn't a lot of punts. Both the coaches really show some gutsy calls and gutsy plays, right, which is how you're supposed to play. You know what I'm saying? You got to leave it all out there on the field. So if it's 4th and 1 on the 48, go for it. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what they were doing. They do a lot of that in college, but you know. So anyway, on to what people really want to talk about in this nation. Why people really watch the Super Bowl? The commercials and the halftime show. How do you feel about the halftime show?
I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of boos, but me and my homegirl Jazz were sitting there at this party, and I was like, I'm not feeling it.
You're not feeling it?
I thought it was
I was never a big Shakira fan to begin with, so I mean, I would have to go to, and she did some thing with her tongue, like, that was kind of, I was like, where the hell did that come from? It went from butt shake to
rewind button right now, because I would rewind it.
I don't want to see it again.
Right, I don't want to see that again. So we had, so like we said, we had Prima and Abuela.
Shoot.
We had Abuela up there, J-Lo, but J-Lo killed it though. She's 50 years old, boy.
I think they should have had. Never mind. I think they should have switched outfits because J-Lo's outfit was actually tight.
Yeah,
and Shakira had she had a baby bump going on. I'm sorry.
I didn't want to see Shakira.
Yeah,
I've never been a big Shakira fan.
You know, and then
hips don't lie.
And then you know, I
don't
like to talk about people's kids. I don't like to talk about people's kids, but you know, J-Lo's daughter. But she sounded like her. So okay. Which commercial was my favorite commercial was the one that kicked it off with though, with the little boy running through all the cities, and then he finally gets to the stadium with all the Hall of Famers shaking his hand, and then he gets to my God, that was probably the best commercial because it went through every city, and then he runs the actual game ball out to the ref.
Like every city,
every city that has a football team.
Pittsburgh, he's in Pittsburgh.
What quarter was that?
I don't think he went to. No, that's how they opened up the show. They opened up the show with
I missed it too.
And he ran the game ball out to the ref before he tossed the coin.
Oh, that's dope. I missed it.
Oh man, y'all missed the best commercial.
Yeah, sorry.
So anyway, shout out to the Super Bowl winners.
I like Tom Brady's commercial. Wasn't that?
Tom Brady's commercial was dope.
He let it be known that he's not going nowhere.
You know how I like Tom Brady get. Yeah, but staying with the NFL.
Cheetos commercial.
Staying with the NFL, we had the honors on Saturday that gives the awards. The NFL honors gives the awards to all the players, and Lamar Jackson won MVP.
Yes,
his coach. Yes, his coach John Harbaugh won Coach of the Year.
Well deserved.
Both of those weren't really that much of a surprise, but the head scratcher of the year of the night, was the comeback player of the year, Ryan Tannehill. I personally would have gave it to Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he suffered a season-ending injury last year. They went 4-12. Wait, stop me when I tell a lie. They went 4-12, and then he led them to a 13-3 season and a Super Bowl berth.
How can that not be? Nobody expected that.
It's not, because it was a testament to how bad Tannehill sucked.
But Tannehill also has the privilege of having a leading rusher in Derrick Henry. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, this
he got a beast.
Come on,
it helps him out because he got somebody good to throw.
Nah,
Tannehill wouldn't have got that if that was me. Moving on. We got the NBA All-Star game coming up this week in a couple of weeks in Chicago. But I want to talk about more so the snubs. Every year they have players that we feel probably should have been selected over other players, but I think some players need to accept the fact that this is a popularity contest.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying?
To a degree,
to a degree it's a popularity contest, and they shouldn't be that salty about it. No. However, there are some cats that take that word snub way too loosely. Like, just questioning whether you're a snub or not, you just need to ask if you deserve to be picked over the person that made it. You understand what I'm saying? So not everybody is a snub. Like clear snubs are people that's usually victims of poor teams like Devin Booker or Bradley Beal or something like that. I feel those guys. And also, they don't really have too many rookies make an all-star team. The last two the only two that ever made it, Blake Griffin and Yao Ming. But I personally feel Ja Morant probably should have got heat because Memphis been balling and he turning it around. I think I would have picked him over Chris Paul. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, but shout out to all the All-Stars that made it. You know what I'm saying? We should be in for a good show anyway. Yeah. So, we got the meat and potatoes, why I'm dressed this way today.
Please, don't. You got some drum roll, please.
Why I'm dressed today.
Take it.
So, the reason why I'm dressed this way today is fashion in sports has gotten way out of control. All right, and today
that explains it.
Yes,
Thank God.
Today, my call a cab is dedicated to all those athletes that walk in the arena and the podiums on these speeches and dress like this and think that it's cool.
Looking like a fool.
Somebody call Cam Newton.
Yes, that's exactly who I was going for. Can't you tell? I got the chest hair showing and everything. You understand what I'm saying?
He came in full effect for y'all today.
It's almost as if the stylist said, like, what's the look we going for today?
Horrible.
And they said,
the tackiest.
I want to look like I'm standing on every continent at the same time. like everybody's dressed for a Bootsy Collins concert in a secret location, and the dress code was
I cannot.
do you.
Do you.
Right. So, I'm not even going to talk about the actual fitting of the clothes, right? Because we always talk about the emasculation of the black male, but they kind of like doing it themselves.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And I don't care what anybody says to y'all. Listen, I'm going to say this for the people in the back.
With the rings out.
Right, with the rings out. Not all designers look good. And not everything that look good is a designer. All right? So, listen.
I'm different.
We had our characters back in the days, the Deion Sanders, but the only person that looked weird was Dennis Rodman. Okay, and now everybody looks like Dennis Rodman. So
he wouldn't even stand out no more.
Right. He don't even stand out. So listen, I'm gonna wrap that up. Listen, y'all guys are dressing out of control. Had too much to drink. Sit your ass down. I'm calling you a cab. Calling the cab. Now moving on to you guys' best, favorite segment of show is that Bibulous Pick of the Week.
Bibulous.
Yes. This week's Bibulous Pick of the Week goes to a gentleman by the name of Matthew Cherry. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch the viral video that's been going viral. Of a gentleman trying to do his daughter's hair. It's like one of the most touching videos, right? It's called Hair Love. He's a former NFL player, but he's now the director and creator of a short film, animated film called Hair Love. His inspiration was basically a painting of a father and a daughter sitting on a park bench, and she has 2 Afro puffs, along with a couple of viral videos that he saw of dads doing their daughter's hair. And what the video touches on is like the intimate relationships that revolves around the hair and how the significance of it,
right,
and the joys and the laughters that you get from it, but also sometimes the frustrations. But overall, the bond that you build with your daughter, with a father and his daughter. And at the end of the video, it shows the mom going through some chemo treatment, so she doesn't have hair. I shouldn't have ruined that for you guys. I'm sorry, but the reason why he's my Bibulous Pick of the Week is because this short film was nominated for an Academy Award this year.
Wow.
And it just amazes me that how talented these athletes are, such as like Kobe Bryant, the short film that he made, Dear Basketball. It amazes me how talented these athletes are to take such a simple topic and turn it into a passionate project, with such a deep-rooted meaning, especially when it's ethnic undertones. You understand what I'm saying? So shout out to Matthew Cherry on such a dope project. He's my Bibulous Pick of the Week, and I hope you win that Academy Award for the culture. That's it for Frank Sports Bar. Bar's closing, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Frankie. Thank you for explaining why he had this outfit on. I couldn't take it all day.
I'm relieved.
Woo, Lord, he was like, me and Jay was like, what's going to happen? We don't even know. But thanks, Frank.
James Harden, Westbrook look.
Moving on to the No Chaser portion. This is the time where you guys can call in, ask any questions. Unfortunately, our guest had to leave, so she might not be able to answer, obviously. But anything you want to say, a comment, talk to Frank Sports Bar, myself, or Jay. The number again is 678-223-3364. Again, 678-223-3364. In the meantime, guys, let's just chat about what you think about what Davida had to say. It's really scary. Especially because y'all have girls, y'all have kids.
Right, man. Yeah. I'm
on the Wish a Motherfucker Would program.
You ain't never lied. Boy, oh boy, I'm so happy these gun laws exist down here in Georgia, because I'm tearing somebody's head off. But anyway, you just heard the fathers come out of there. But one thing I did find interesting that she touched on was you know, these creeps don't have a look.
Right.
Yes. You understand what I'm saying? That was pretty deep. That was very important for people to really grasp and understand. You know, we have the proverbial
images.
Look. You understand the images in our head and stuff like trench coats.
You know how social media goes crazy with the white van thing and people getting snatched up. And like, again, not only are there not other pathways to, like, that's typically the pathway is to human trafficking or sex trafficking when people are brought into the country,
right?
But generally, for those who are already here, that's not the typical path for human trafficking. Anybody, and I remember taking a course one time. A lot of times, it's people who are in financial need, don't have a lot of family or friends, low resources. They're really vulnerable to get sucked into the next thing that leads to human trafficking.
So,
and a lot of them are runaways. So when she was talking about the conversation with her daughter about how she almost ran her off, instead of sitting down and, you know, harping and yelling, whatever, is actually sit down and talk to them and let them speak how they really feel. Because a lot of them, you know, even I volunteer, whatever, and you see a lot of young girls, it's because they ran away. They don't feel that love. They don't feel that, you know what I'm saying, the safety net, that worthiness from their parents or stepfather, whoever the case may be, and then they go out looking for it, and boom.
And I'm you know, proud of her for being so vulnerable just now, letting us know how she was one of those parents like, shut up, you know, ready to dismiss her daughter. But then, you know, when she had to really like regroup herself, because like that wall that she said her daughter put up would have led her down a path of just, you know, untouched topics where, you know, where she was just scared to bring it up to her mom, you know, or something like that. So yeah, definitely kudos to Davida for doing that. Hey, say that number one more time. I got to call it.
Yes, again, it is 678-223-3364. Again, 678-223-3364. Call in and talk to Truth No Chaser. But yeah, another thing I wanted to mention on that is because I volunteer as well with her through Ray of Hope, and it's like a cry out for more men to get involved. It's like when I've been out volunteering, I don't really see a lot of men getting involved.
Well, I think it's kind of a touchy thing for men sometimes. Like, not to say that it is, but it can feel like one. Like, you know, sex trafficking, young girls, women, we kind of don't feel like, you know. And I've been even with some of the ones through Ray of Hope, we kind of been asked to be security, kind of be a lookout for the women, because a lot of times it takes a woman to reach a woman in those types of circumstances,
right?
Because their perpetrators are often men, right? So,
but I mean, it's a good thing, because even whenever I volunteer, like I said with her a couple of times, and we went out on these princess nights, and you know, you go in bands and go to certain areas. Sometimes even the pimps or whatever actually wanted somebody to talk to them too. And there's been several times where guys have actually went up to them and prayed with them. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of them, I found out, you know, doing research, is that a lot of them are also victims at one point in time.
Absolutely.
All right, hold on one sec.
Yes.
Hello. You're on the phone with Truth No Chaser. Who are we speaking to?
Hey, you're speaking to Sean, calling from Jersey. How's everybody doing?
What's up, Sean?
Good, Sean. How are you?
I'm good. I was just calling in. Frankie's my boy. Frankie's been my boy since early 90s.
Yes.
Attended Morningstar Missionary Baptist Church together back in the days. Played ball together.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just calling to show support.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Thank you for calling in. You got anything that you want to touch on that we talked about?
Well, I'm not sure if y'all touched on this yet, because I kind of came in a little late. That whole Gayle King interview with Lisa Leslie.
Okay.
Am I not saying her name right?
Like it was Gayle King.
Yeah. I just felt that was that interview was definitely uncalled for. Well, especially that line of questioning.
Okay.
Was uncalled for, especially, you know, after everything, you know, Kobe's wife is going through, his family is going through, his friends and family, and you know, and all the other families that's involved, for Gayle King to just be so cold to bring that up. I just wanted to get y'all guys' take on that.
Oh man, let me tell you, this world that we live in, man, we just gotta prepare our offsprings for what they're entering, man, because I mean, talk about no filter. It definitely exists today. You know, people are completely insensitive at any given time. This Kobe Bryant situation really opened my eyes to that. I know I know obviously there's some people that's out there that's tired of hearing it, right? But at the same time, I just learned that negativity is going to be touched on no matter what the circumstance. Right. It's crazy. Like, it don't matter if the Pope died. It don't matter if, Jesus Christ himself came back, proved to people he's real, and then died again, and people will still find something negative to talk about. And I have to brush it, because I caught a snippet of that interview that you're talking about. But yeah, we'll definitely touch on that topic again, at another time.
All right, we gotta go, brother.
Shaw, thank you for calling in, brother. We're gonna take another
caller real quick.
No doubt.
All right, fam.
Appreciate you, bro.
Later.
Hello, you're on the phone with Truth No Chaser. How can we help you? Who are we speaking with?
How y'all doing?
Good. Can you speak up a little bit, please?
Hey, how y'all doing? It's Michael.
Hey, Mike. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Frankie? What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
All right.
Hey, man, I just wanted to comment. This was a great topic tonight. Because Washington High School just had a little program, I think, earlier this week about this trafficking with the girls there, and they had some women that came in and spoke to them and let them know some of the same situation. How we could be going out every day, and they could be, we see them every day get snatched up. So we have to be aware. Of our surroundings.
Yeah.
I don't have kids, but I tell my wife every time she go out, just make sure that you know where you're at or who you're around, because I don't trust no jokes these days.
You ain't never lied.
And it's just that it's sad in this day and age where we at, but it's they're getting the word out, and not just that white minivan. Because nowadays, man, they'll set you up a smarter truck.
Okay.
They can. So great show tonight, guys.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in, Mike.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Appreciate that. All right, we holler at you, man.
Oh yeah, but we'll talk about that next week. But I did catch that Lisa Leslie interview.
Oh, okay.
And Gail was trying to aim for it. She was trying to pull something out, and Lisa was like, "Nah, we're not going there. We're not doing that."
We ain't doing that right now.
We'll definitely touch on that next week, because that was a good topic he brought up.
That's what's up.
Moving on now, we're going to go to the motivational moment with your girl. And one thing, and more than one thing, but I love about our podcast, Truth and Chaser, is that we ask guests to come on to not only be informative, but also vulnerable and transparent. And I think that sets us apart a lot from other people, because ourselves were also very vulnerable, very transparent. And I'm saying that to lead into my motivational moment is because for me, I've been dealing with the last maybe 2.5 years on this journey of self-love and trying to get back to what I lost from relationships. And I spoke on rediscovering you and how to learn what makes you happy again, learning yourself all over again. And we do that several times, from relationships, friendships, work situationships, where we try to be somebody that we're not, or we try to go above and beyond and give our all to people. And in return, we lose ourselves. They don't care about us. We get hurt. We're damaged. And then we move on to the next person and bring that same drama and that same hurt and desperation and depression onto the next person. So I wanted to encourage and motivate people this week to really rediscover who you are. If you've been hurt from past relationships before, it's okay. We must do the work. You must do the healing, the forgiving, whether it's journaling, exercise, therapy. For me, I lost myself multiple times, to be honest, and that's just me being transparent. And it's because sorry y'all, I didn't love myself. I didn't value myself enough. So I did whatever I could to keep somebody attached to me as that plus one. I wanted somebody to be there for me because I didn't want to be alone. All my friends are getting married, and I'm the single friend, or everyone's having babies, and I'm like, dang God, when's it my turn? So I'm getting upset with God. And now these guys come across that I know dang well I didn't need to be with, but I ignored the red flags. So it took me some time of just having quiet time, self-assessments, going through therapy, talking to my good friends, having a good circle around me, prayer circles around me, good friends, and letting me know that, it's okay. What's for you is for you. So I had to really rediscover who Ashley is. I had to really rediscover what makes me happy. What am I going to settle for? What am I not going to settle for? What do I need out of a mate, out of a job? And I'm not going to argue about it. I'm not going to debate, because I know what I need for me. And I'm at a place now where I'm able to celebrate the small wins now. And for us, I believe when you're out there going through transition, you're trying to find yourself, you're trying to rediscover who you are and what makes you genuinely happy, you have to celebrate the small wins. You know, don't try to, you know, go all out, whatever. And if you fail, oh, I know, and get mad. No, get back up and keep going, because you must find you. Rediscover who God has called you to be. Rediscover your purpose, your passion, what motivates you, what drives you, because that in the end is going to keep you going. And then when it's time for you to find that right mate, that right job, that right friendship, it'll fall in your lap without you trying. If you're going to bet on anything in this world, bet on yourself. In order to do that, you have to live your best life, live your truth. Don't care about nobody else. Don't please nobody else. Don't compare nobody else. You are you, and God made you perfect. In the end, when you lose yourself, don't stay down. Get back up and rediscover who you truly are and who you are meant to be. And that's that, y'all.
Amen.
Man, that was, I felt that to my core.
Yeah.
It's a struggle. It's not easy. It's not easy.
We appreciate you for your transparency too.
Yes, yes.
Man,
lose yourself, find it back, baby. Get it back. That's that get back.
So
definitely important.
I'm gonna replay that one again when I get to the crib. Meditate on that one. For real, Ash. That was good.
That was deep.
Thank you, y'all. Thank you. All right, so we're moving on to the last minute, the last call, y'all.
So
last call for
what we got coming up that they need to know about? We got new gear getting ready to come out.
Right?
Oh, some new Truth No Chaser gear. Make sure y'all go www.thetruthnochaser.com and get that merch, baby.
Yes, the merchandise.
Yeah, it's not just for me. I got a lot of people that ask, like,
is it just
like,
for you?
Okay, yeah, there's a crew or something like that. I'm like, nah, you can purchase this too.
Yeah.
You too
so that means we're not pubbing the website enough.
You can too look like this. Go on the website and get your gear, the hats, the wine glasses, y'all.
You can also catch old Truth No Chaser episodes previously aired on the website, thetruthnochaser.com. So, and subscribe to the YouTube channel.
The big red button.
Yes, absolutely. And coming up soon, we're going to be getting the girls together with these wine glasses and talk about some of the stuff you just talked about.
Yes, we are talking about dating, single life in Atlanta. And we're not going to man bash. We're going to actually, like I said, we're all going to...
They're going to lie.
We're not going to lie. We're all going to share our stories. And my goal is to be very, like I said, this is for me, is our mission, is to be very transparent and very vulnerable and real, because we don't want the fakeness. We don't want the lies. We actually want people to hear what we're saying, because we're not the only ones struggling out here. It's tough out here for being single people. So I'm just saying, don't do that.
I don't know nothing about that.
They don't. Once again,
right, Tim? We don't know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying?
So we have a lot more content coming up. What's going to be the singles, then we're going to have the couples, we're going to have the men that are singles. So stay tuned. We have so much more content coming on. So you must subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay in contact and get all the notifications.
What up? So we appreciate y'all for joining us.
Yep.
It's another wrap up.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all the calls. Appreciate you.
Comment, like, subscribe, and let us know what you're thinking, what you're feeling.
We'll catch y'all next week, y'all.
I'll be in something different next week.
Please do. Please.